In the quiet, suburban town of Metteridge, nestled just outside the busy streets of New York, lived a couple who, to the outside world, had everything: charm, beauty, a lovely home, and 2 children. But beneath the picture-perfect exterior, Adrian Cole and Elena Cole were crumbling. They had met years ago at a party in the city. Elena was an aspiring actress with radiant energy, and Adrian, a charming man with vague ambitions, was working in marketing. Their love had bloomed quickly, passionately, and with wild optimism. They married and moved to Metteridge to build the life they thought everyone should want. At first, it felt right. A beautiful home, neighbors who waved good morning, and weekends filled with laughter. But over time, the sparkle faded. Adrian began commuting daily to a job he despised at Knox Data Corporation, where he sat in a gray cubicle crunching numbers and answering to men he secretly loathed. Elena, now a stay-at-home mother, felt her identity dissolve into dishes, diapers, and polite small talk. Their conversations had turned cold. Silence filled the spaces once occupied by dreams and promises. They began to argue. Not always loudly, but sharply, and often. Elena resented the routine, the hollow calm of suburbia. Adrian found himself defensive, clinging to the idea that they had a decent life, even if it wasn't the one they'd once imagined. Then one evening, over dinner, Elena stood up with unexpected confidence and said, "What if we left? What if we just dropped everything and moved to Paris?" Adrian, caught off guard, chuckled. "Paris? What for?" "Because that's where life is. I could find something, maybe work in a theater. And you? You're smart. You could find something too. We were never meant for this dull existence, Adrian. We weren't meant to rot in cubicles and gossip over hedges." Her eyes glowed with a flicker he hadn't seen in years. For the first time in months, Adrian felt alive. He agreed. Paris, a new beginning. They would save money, sell the house, and start again. Free from expectations, free from fear. The weeks that followed were filled with excitement. Elena began planning, and Adrian walked with a new lightness. Even their children noticed a change. Their home felt warmer again. But the outside world didn't share their excitement. Friends rolled their eyes or offered forced smiles. Adrian's co-workers laughed at the idea. "You re-going to let your wife support you while you play artist in Paris?" they mocked. And then came the promotion. One dull morning, Adrian was called into his manager's office. To his surprise, they offered him a raise and a significant role in the company. It was flattering and terrifying. Suddenly, Paris seemed less magical and more uncertain. What if he failed? What if Elena found someone else in a city full of bohemians and poets? What if their children suffered? That evening, Adrian didn't tell Elena about the promotion. The days passed, and Adrian became distant. He started questioning Elena's plan, doubting its logic. "You really think it's that easy?" he asked her one night. "You think we'll just get off the plane and find happiness?" Elena's face fell. What changed Adrian? He couldn't answer. The argument grew. Words turned to accusations. She called him a coward. He called her ungrateful. He finally told her about the promotion. She was furious. Not because he was offered it, but because he wanted it. "You said you hated that place," she shouted. "I still do," he replied, "but at least it's something real." The dream unraveled. Elena felt trapped again. Only now, the cage was tighter. Not just suburban life, but a husband who refused to fight for freedom. She began withdrawing, walking alone in the woods, sitting in silence during dinner. Her eyes were heavy. The light was gone. One day, Adrian returned home early and found her sitting alone in the dark. "We don't have to do this," he said softly. "We can still go." She looked at him, eyes empty. "No, Adrian, we already stayed." The next morning, she made breakfast. The table was set, the children fed. She smiled politely. Adrian thought maybe they had reached peace, but that was the last time he saw her alive. She had taken steps he never saw coming. A decision she made quietly, desperately, and fatally. The loss shattered him. The neighborhood responded in whispers, some with sympathy, others with judgment. But no one knew the truth, that Elena had died long before that morning. Her soul had suffocated in a world that never let her breathe. Adrian stayed in Metteridge for a few months. He tried to keep going. For the children, for himself. But every corner of the house echoed with her absence. He began walking the same trails she once did, retracing memories. Eventually, he packed a bag and left. No goodbye, no announcement, just silence. Years later, people in Metteridge still spoke of the Coles. They talked about how beautiful Elena was, how tragic her end was, and how Adrian disappeared without a trace. But somewhere across the ocean, in a small cafe in Lisbon, a man sat alone by the window, writing in a leather notebook. A picture of two children was tucked in the corner. On the first page, a line read, "To Elena, who believed in wings even when the sky was closed."